Hello, Find Me the Money listeners. I am so excited today to have Alison Jacobson with us. She is talking with us about becoming financially independent after divorce. And this is really especially hard for midlife women who often find themselves financially strapped and facing their retirement years. And so Alison's going to have some really good advice for us because she has so much experience in this area. She's a motivational speaker, an author, and a coach for women who are in midlife and who want to reclaim their dreams before they took on those roles of mom, partner, and caregiver. She helps women get past their self-doubt, achieve their goals, and live a kick-ass life. She's the host of the podcast Midlife Mavericks, on which I've been a guest, and she's the founder of the group Midlife Mavericks, Fabulous, Fierce Females. Alison completed the New York City Marathon in 2022 at age 57, having never run before. And she's been through a divorce that left her broke, the death of her infant son, her second son's intellectual disability, and her second husband's rapid physical decline due to primary progressive MS. Alison, thank you so much for being with us and being willing to share all about you and how you're helping midlife women, especially, as I said, coming out of divorce is really, really tough.
Tracy, thanks so much. And yeah, this is such an important topic for all women in midlife because so many of us grew up not having a clue about how to manage our money and just pretend that we don't talk about it.
Okay, so before we get started, I always like to say we're not saving it until the end. Where are people going to find you after our interview?
People can go to alison-jacobson.com. I've got tons of resources up there, including a free download, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom, which will help people just get started with the financial basics.
Right. So finances coming out of divorce are usually pretty shaky for women and especially for midlife. As you know, my topic is divorce and money because I have the Divorce Money Guide to help people who either think that there is potential fraud in their marriage or for women who haven't been involved with the finances and just don't know where to start. So I want to ask you though, why did you choose working with midlife women? What was it about that was so important to you?
Well, it was after I went through my own divorce, and fortunately, I was the primary breadwinner in our home, but that also mean I had all the credit card debt. So once we got divorced, it was horrific. I had all the credit card bills because what your listeners need to understand is despite the fact that a judge might tell you to split the debt, if those credit cards are in your name, that's all they care about. You're the one that's on the hook. So unfortunately, that was me. I had to declare bankruptcy. But let me tell you, Tracy, that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I had to learn to live with just the money I was making. There was no credit. And so I think for women in midlife, we become so accustomed to living on credit card debt. We may have college loans still that we're paying off. So to me, it was really important for women in midlife to get set up for their financial future and learn to become financially independent.
You bring up such a good point about the debt. And I hear this all the time working with women in divorce who are saying, my husband was supposed to pay the debt. The judge put the debt towards him or put a particular amount of the debt that he was supposed to pay off, and he hasn't paid it off. And what do I do now? And a lot of times bankruptcy is the option because the credit card company doesn't care what the judge said. The IRS doesn't care what the judge said. What I teach women is that if there is going to be some sort of split of the debt, any debt that has your name on it, if he's taking it, try to force him to refinance that, be it transfer it to a new credit card in his name only, get a home equity loan, pay off what you've got, get a personal loan, pay off anything in your name. Not always possible. In fact, a lot of times not possible. A lot of times you've got to just pray that he pays it off. But gosh, so important.
Well, and I love what you talk about because so many women unfortunately naively believe that they know everything that's going on in their husband's life or partner's life in terms of finances. I have literally had clients where paper was put under their nose and they didn't know they were signing off on a home equity line of credit. They had no clue. They were just signing papers because they trusted their husband. And look, we should never go into a marriage not trusting our partner, but we also need to be smart. At the end of the day, this is a contract, and you would never sign anything, do anything without having all the terms and conditions up front.
Well, we talk in the Divorce Money Guide about red flags of financial fraud and how would you know if something is going wrong with the money. And one of the things we talk about is, have you been asked to sign documents without having an opportunity to look at them or understand them? Is he coercing you to sign documents? Have you signed tax returns without knowing what was in them? Or even worse, now in this day and age of electronic filing of tax returns, so many women are in a position where their husbands filed a tax return that they never saw. Because electronically, you can just say, yep, that person signed off and agreed. And you can be put in a really bad position like that.
And that's what, from a money mindset perspective, I really try to talk to women about because they have probably grown up in a family where dad took care of all the bills. Mom didn't worry about it. And so there's this inbred thought of, it's okay. He'll take care of it all. I'm not smart about money. Or maybe you grew up in a household where you never had to worry about money. There was so much. And so women usually have a lot of stories and backgrounds about not being financially smart. I don't have a head for money. That's bullshit. I hope I can swear.
You
But
can.
thank you. That is absolutely bullshit. There's no such thing as not having a head for money. Look, this is something that every woman could and should learn. We need to understand about money, and it's simple, it's easy to do.
Right? You don't have to be great with numbers. You don't have to be an accountant to understand money. So, what does it mean to be financially independent? Because that's one thing that you really advocate for women. I do as well. But, what does that mean? Does it mean quitting your job and running around the world? Or does it mean something else to you?
I would love to quit my job and run around the world, but no, that is not what it means. Financially independent means being able to pay your bills on your own, have your own credit, have your own account so that you know exactly what's going on. You are never beholden to somebody else to pay bills. And look, I know we're talking about divorce, but this can happen if your spouse dies, if they become critically injured, if something happens. You absolutely need to be able to understand everything about your financial situation so that moving forward, you feel confident and at peace. Because we've all had those problems where we wake up in the middle of the night with that knot in our stomach because we're nervous about bills. What you understand, you will never be nervous about again. So, one of the top things I say to women is you have to look at your accounts every day. How many times have we not, looked at our bank accounts because we were so scared about it? We just forgot about it. But what we do on a daily basis, that ends the fear. And then you have to have the sign in the passwords for every account, every life insurance, everything. You need to understand what is in there and you need to be able to access it.
If you're looking at it every day, you're going to become more comfortable with it. At the beginning, you might feel like a fish out of water. You don't know necessarily what you're looking at. But, when we talk in the Divorce Money Guide about getting all your bank account statements, that sounds really overwhelming if you haven't been involved before. And then you take it to the next step and you think, oh my God, I'm going to get all these statements and then do what with them? And I say, let's not worry about that yet. First of all, let's just get them because having them in your hands is empowering in and of itself. But once you have them, I say, let's just take a look down the list of transactions and see what we see. You know your family, and you're going to probably see some transactions that you have questions about. Again, you didn't need any special skills to know that, but it's just thinking about our family. Why was there a hotel stay in a city an hour away or something like that, right?
Exactly. And it's not even just those. I think one of the biggest traps we all fall into are those annual subscriptions, those
Oh,
automatic
goodness.
renewals. I mean, I especially like for streaming things now, everything. So that's why it's so important to look. And even if there's not something going on, there can be mistakes on your account. You have to look at that. In this day and age where there are so many financial scams, you need to be alert and on top of it. And yeah, once you get, it's kind of like going to the gym, right? You may feel uncomfortable that first time you walk in and intimidated, but the more you go, the more comfortable you become. That's exactly like looking at your bank accounts every day. You become more comfortable with it. And that's what's important here.
Do you think that this concept of becoming financially independent is even more important for midlife women than it is for younger women?
Absolutely, because we are getting older. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't have as many years to be making money. So we need to start planning. So I have a course that I offer twice a year, Confidence Equals Cash. And it's three parts. First, it's getting rid of all of those past family stories and the stories that you can't do this and really uncover your fears about money. The second part is rolling up our sleeves and digging in, really understanding what all of your money is, where it is, how you're spending it, why you're spending it. And then that part three is planning for the future. What do you want to do? What's the most important thing for you? And look, even if we only have 20 years left, now is the perfect time to start planning that independently. Look, you can stay married, but you have your money. You get to choose how you're going to spend it. You have a plan together. And if you're not getting divorced, you've got to start having those conversations. Look, women have harder time talking about money than they do about sex. It's an uncomfortable situation. We need to normalize it.
Well, I don't know about you, but when I grew up, I was told that talking about money was impolite. You don't ask people
Yes.
about money. You don't talk about money. You don't want people to know how much you have or how much something costs. And I get it from, a niceties standpoint, but in your personal life with your partner, you've got to be talking about it. What I love about your course is this. I always say there is lots of information on the internet. You can go out there and you can Google to your heart's content, find all sorts of information about budgeting, about saving, about investing. But how do you weed through all of it and know what's good info and what's not, first of all? And second of all, what I love about your course is that it is a framework and it is a logical way to walk people through it. They don't have to figure out, where do I start first? Should I do this before that? You're going to walk them right through it step by step.
Yeah, and I've just heard from so many women that once they've done this, whether, like I said, whether they're getting a divorce or not, they feel the confidence, the self confidence to know I can do this. And yeah, it's scary at first when you're seeing what you're spending. And if you are getting a divorce, how am I going to be able to afford things? The reality is you can. I went from bankruptcy to six figures again because I decided I was going to. I had no choice. And you make the tough decisions, you do cut back, and then you go on. Now, I'm not a Dave Ramsey fan of cutting out everything and not the latte because you know what? We do need those little
Treats.
treats for ourselves,
Yes.
right? We need that. And that extra latte is not going to make or break us. But sometimes you do need to make the decision of, do you want to save for a house or do you want to go on vacation every year? You may give one up for a while, or you may just cut back. Instead of going to brunch with your girlfriends every week, maybe you go twice a month instead.
That's exactly it. I'm always a big fan of, you don't need to deny yourself things. It's kind of like dieting. I love pizza. If I go on a diet and I tell myself I can never have pizza again, I'm setting myself up for failure. But if I go on a diet knowing I have certain times when I'm planning to have that pizza, I can successfully diet. And it's the same way with money. You don't have to cut out all the lattes, but you have to ask yourself, do I want two expensive lattes a day? Or do I want to maybe have two expensive lattes a week and use that extra money towards a vacation next year?
Exactly. And I want to get back to something else you said about sharing the money you make with your spouse and partner. It's also important to talk about money so that you have a gauge of what you should be making at your job. There is so many instances of ageism now and sexism where midlife women are getting paid less than men. If we don't know how much we should be getting paid and what everybody else is getting paid, we can't advocate for ourselves. So we really have to have those conversations in a non-emotional way. It's just a fact.
Right. I love it. I love it. Okay. So Let's talk about a midlife woman who is coming out of divorce. Now, knowing what I know and having worked with hundreds of people going through divorce over the last 25 years, there's a pretty good chance that this midlife woman got the short end of the stick when it came to the money. She probably got less than her share of the equity in the house, probably less than her fair share of the retirement accounts. So now she's thinking about retirement, which is quickly approaching because she's in midlife. All of this financial independence talk sounds great, but how is this newly divorced woman going to get there?
So the first thing we have to do is put all down in writing what your budget is. It's amazing to me how many people don't know what they spend and what they have coming in. And this doesn't have to be something big. I do it on an Excel spreadsheet. So I need you to list out everything you are spending money on. And one of the biggest problems I say is cash. Because when you take $40 out of the ATM, you have all of a sudden you have $10 left. You have no idea how you spent it. So I need you to really look at over a month's time how much you're spending in each area. The other thing is you may have to get a side hustle. And that is okay. There are so many women that are doing extra things on the side now. I have one woman who is making $60,000 a year. She opened up an eBay account and she's selling antiques. This is a side hustle for her, and she's making $60,000 a year. So don't limit yourself. Again, it's the mindset. Once you are on your own, you can do this, but you're either going to have to spend less, make more, or we're going to have to figure out where that's going. But it's not a fearful conversation. It's exciting conversation because you are in control of your future now. You are financially independent from anybody else.
It's interesting because the budgeting talk that goes on really focuses on how much you're spending. And I think that it minimizes talking about how much you're making. And really, making more, you can make such greater gains than you can on the spend less side. So I talk to people about, is there something that you really enjoy doing that you could figure out a way to make money doing? Is it teaching lessons to someone in something? Is it taking a craft you enjoy and selling it at a craft fair or putting those crafts in a store somewhere? There is something unique that everyone does that you could figure out a way to make some money doing, for sure.
Exactly. And I think one of the problems, though, I see with a lot of midlife women is the stigma that they feel like I'm getting a second job. Maybe I shouldn't do that. The reality is, no one cares about your situation and no one's going to rescue you. So, girl, you do what you need to do.
Absolutely. So I know that you have some tips on women becoming financially independent, and you have three really important steps to that. So I want to make sure that we get to those three steps before we wrap up.
Absolutely. So, number one, look at your bank account daily. Look at all of your checking accounts, your savings accounts, look at them. Number two, use some sort of forced savings, such as Acorn, where if you use your debit card, the difference goes into an account. It's an easy way to save. You don't even miss it, but it adds up quickly. Number three, track your money. Look at those automatic subscriptions, shut them down. Make sure you understand every dime of where it's going. And that goes back to, I actually have four, is have a budget, have a budget, have a budget. Look at it, write it down, understand how much you have coming in and how much you have going out.
That was really awesome. I am wondering if you have a particular app or program that you recommend to help with the budgeting, especially for someone who might not be really comfortable with the numbers yet.
So I love Mint. I think Mint is a great app to use. You can do all of your budgeting. You can put in your payments because, again, you want to make sure you're not getting caught with forgetting to pay a bill where you're going to end up paying interest charges that you don't need or penalty fees. So I love Mint, but I also have through my course a self calculating budget sheet.
Ooh,
And you can find that too, which is really nice. It's super simple. That's the thing. This doesn't have to be difficult. You just have to set yourself up, make a date with yourself to set it up and do it one time, get it right, and then you can go from there.
it's about becoming disciplined, about doing something on a regular basis. And if you're just starting out to get involved with the money, don't create some grandiose plan for yourself of all these things that you have to accomplish when you've never been involved before. You can take baby steps and work towards getting better about looking at and planning your money.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Allison, tell us again where to find you.
So you can find me at Alison-Jacobson.com. You can sign up for the alert when I open up my Confidence Equals Cash again there. And you can also download my 7 steps to financial freedom.
And if women are looking for some motivation, they can get your book, a fabulous book called Daily Inspirations for Midlife Women, a guide to peace, joy, confidence, and abundance. And I highly recommend that.
Well, thank you very much. And thanks for having me on. We need to band together and help women with their finances.
Absolutely. Thanks for being a guest. You've been fabulous. I hope people reach out to you, take advantage of your course about in your newsletter, and just learning more and getting more involved with their money.
Thanks, Tracy.